Welcome to NTV Unscripted. I'm delighted to be back in the swing of this after a bout of COVID during September. I hope you have all been well. So as per usual, I have an amazing guest with me today. Please put your hands together and welcome the wonderful Sanjeev Kumar, who is the CEO of DTM Global Holdings. Sanjeev, lovely to see you. How are you?
Well, thank you, and thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure, absolute honour, actually. So we're going to start with your early life, because this is quite akin to our community watching today.
Yeah, I mean, this is interesting. So when you asked me first, and you gave me the background a bit of the channel, I think that's where we started discussing the discussion that, wow, it's so close to where I grew up as a child. So the city where I was born, it's a city in India called Patna. And that is about it's about 350 miles away from Dhaka. So I think maybe people can relate to it. So you grow up in that part of the world, and especially in my time, in 80s and 90s.
And there's the pictures there, our producer's telling me.
Oh yeah, that's me. Yeah.
Are you the baby?
Yeah, I'm the baby. Yeah.
And there's the CEO picture, the very first one.
Oh, thanks for that. That's a bit embarrassing. But the good thing is, if you were to ask that young person there that you would have a life today like what I am going through, I would have said I wouldn't have believed it anyways, right? And this is why I think it's I thought it's probably important to share bits and pieces of my journey. Maybe people in the community can relate to it. I was born in that city, in the city called Patna. I did my schooling there. And then I had this bug that I thought, I need to follow my dream. I was obsessed with stars and the universe, and I realized the school system is not really there for me. Meaning, coming from the Asian community, the focus is always on, you have to be a doctor or engineer or something like that. And I thought, wow, there was too much pressure from my family in a way, and I was quite stubborn, anyways. So I thought, the only way probably I could follow or chase my dream is probably to move out, not just of my city, but move out of the country.
Right.
So I was trying everything, and eventually I managed to get the sponsorship to study in the U.S., and that's why I went to the U.S. to study.
Right.
So that's the phase one of the journey.
That's why I have a slight accent.
Yeah.
And whereabouts did you study in the US?
So I went to Philadelphia. So I studied. I did my most of my higher education happened in the U.S. So I did graduate from UPenn. So that's phase two of my really the journey.
Right. And when did you realize that you perhaps were more suited to the entrepreneurial journey or life than being a worker or employer?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I think, the way I look at my journey, if I go back, most of my plans that I have for myself didn't really work out. Most of my plans didn't work out. So I was focused more on, I wanted to be a scientist, I wanted to chase the stars and things like that. Then I lost my sponsorship. And when I lost my sponsorship, I was kind of going through a phase where, you would probably call it a phase of depression today. But, you go through that kind of low where you just don't know if there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And then by accident, I ended up studying finance, because that's where I got the sponsorship after losing the sponsorship.
Right.
And then finance, after studying finance, I ended up doing an MBA also from Wharton. And then I got my job at Wall Street. So I did a good stint at Wall Street. It was good money from, I didn't have to think about it. In terms of money, but then there was something missing. There was something missing, and I was in my mid-20s when I decided to take a risk that I won't recommend myself to take now, because being an entrepreneur is never easy. So it was like sometimes you act without thinking through what you're going to do, and you're in that age group where you're mid-20s and you think life is finally working out for you and you are on cloud 9 all the time. So you think, what wrong can I do anyways? So that's where I thought, you know what, I have done what I could, getting a bit bored. I want to move on from finance, and then decided to be entrepreneur. And that's the third phase of my journey, really.
Yeah. And tell us about this sort of, because you've built a massive empire over the years. And I mean, how did you do it? What's the secrets?
There is no secret, honestly. There is no secret. So with me, I had this stubbornness. I think that stubbornness is try. And I think I'm a product of, I think I've told you before, product of trial and error, really. Again, I didn't have a plan for a lot of the things that I'm doing right now. I think necessity became the mother of invention. So you have to adapt. You have to kind of pivot is probably the right word, but adaptation is what I've learned from nature. So what I feel is, if you kind of look at anybody's journey, forget being an entrepreneur, but anybody's journey, life becomes a bit easier when you're able to adapt. So it was all about adaptation, and then kind of taking a few steps back, and that's when you start seeing opportunities also.
Yes.
Because if you're kind of stuck in the rat race, you don't see the opportunities. So I mean, a lot of people can say, okay, this was a well planned out strategy and all of that. I would say, well, you know, not really. If I'm being truly honest with myself.
Fabulous. I mean, people watching from the community and beyond, really, will be listening to this in amazement. Tell us, literally, if you can, all the companies that you have, like what you do and all the industry sectors that you're in, because it really is very, very impressive.
Yeah, so you know, my first business I got involved into, it was an asset management company, but it started as a dairy company in the US, in Delaware. It was called Delmore Dairy. And then it went into the Caribbean. It got into a lot of problems because then it went into commodity agrofinance. A company called, it was called at the time Delmore Asset Management, but Delmore Dairy started in 1940s and all of that.
Right.
And it was a proper dairy company. You know, they used to make eggnogs and things like that. But then I had a client when I was at a Wall Street bank, and she said, well, if you really want to go the entrepreneurial way, why don't you try this out? So I got involved in the company. It was a struggling company at the time. So whatever, I mean, I had a bit of cash, so I bought that company from the cash that I had. And then quickly you realize, wow, this is not something I was expecting. You know, you don't get the paycheck that you are used to, and it becomes, you know, very soon you realize that sitting in a nice cozy office, and every month, whatever happens, you get your paycheck anyways. From there to a point where you're responsible not just for yourself, but hundreds of people that we had. So, you know, you go through a phase where, you know, you go through that high, and then you go through a very, very low again. And then, you know, you try a lot of things and you fail. You literally fail, and you lose confidence. You have you know, I would call it even, you know, phase of loneliness where you think, oh my God, am I going to come out of it?
Yes, agreed.
And from there on, you start trying a lot of things because you don't want to give up. And then something from somewhere start working. So then you kind of, again, adapt, transform. And we transformed that asset management company into a holding company. From a holding company, it's a trust now. And that company became a very sizable company. So we have healthcare business in it. We have infrastructure assets in it. So, and then from there, I decided, you know what, I've done the hard work. These are very heavy asset company. And I wanted to create a spin-off from it. So I created another company called DTM.
Well, thank you. I just have to cut you there. Believe it or not, we're actually coming for a commercial break soon. Don't apologise. When you get back to after the break, please join us again for the next instalment of Sanjeev's amazing career. We'll see you after the commercial break. Hi, welcome back to NTV Unscripted, and here I am with the wonderful Sanjeev Kumar, who's multi-award winning author and multi-award winning serial entrepreneur, I have you know. We'll talk about that later. Sanjeev, you were telling us about the empire and you were just kind of setting the scene and the timeline. If you'd like to carry on with that.
Well, yeah, thanks for that. So that's where I decided, you know what, I was doing things because the DNO group that we were discussing, from there I spun off companies, because after a while you kind of start getting bored, what else is out there. So I decided, you know what, I want to look at more trendy, more tech driven type business, and I had personal investment in a lot of these businesses. So I realized, you know what, I will create a company, and I kind of put together a company that was initially called Delamore Tech and Media. That's why DTM Holdings.
Right.
And then a year down the road, I got kind of bored with that name, and I thought Delamore Tech and Media, I don't like it. And then the more I was getting and investing in these type of businesses who were very, very innovative businesses, technology focused, and I said, you know what, to myself, this is where the magic is happening. So I kind of changed the name to DTM, as in do the magic.
Right.
And it's mostly, very tech driven, sector agnostic. I mean, tech, but also across a range of tech. So it's health tech, cybersecurity, fintech, you name it, we got involved in it. So that is the DTM story.
Right.
And from DTM, I realized then obviously COVID happened.
Yes.
COVID kind of changed a lot of the situation, really.
How did COVID affect you personally, your businesses?
Well, yeah, so COVID had so there were two sides to COVID. So traditional businesses, the hospitality and other businesses, F&B businesses also to a certain extent, they did really badly.
Yes.
Really badly.
Yeah.
The tech business, some of them really did okay, but the business that did quite well was the healthcare business, Harley Street Healthcare Group.
Right.
And the other business was obviously the business advisory group that I ended up creating during COVID.
Right. And this is what we're here really to talk about today, because building up to this, everyone watching at home, this is an amazing story and will affect anyone watching who is an entrepreneur or thinks they would like to be an entrepreneur. So let's talk about, first of all, the BAG, the Business Advisory Group. What is this, and how does it differ to VCs, angel investors, and so forth?
So that's a very good question. So bag is, the way we call it, everything is in the bag. So it is quite literally everything is in the bag. So we are not trying to focus on being a VC. What I personally realize, and I think maybe a lot of the entrepreneurs can relate to it, sometime, and most of the time, you really need a partner who can anchor you.
Yes.
Because remember, every entrepreneur goes through highs and lows, and sometimes sometimes lows can be very, very, very heart-wrenching.
Yes.
And that's one of the reasons why, coming from my own personal experience, seeing what's happening, we thought of creating this idea into a business. So it's an ecosystem where you get support on growth, you get support on business model alignment, you get support on go-to-market, setting up joint venture partnership, helping you with grandfathering, parenting of the business, access to capital, and access to right type of capital.
Yes.
That's very, very important.
It is, absolutely.
And also on the transformational side of the business, a lot of the time people end up hiring a consultancy firm, but they already know what's wrong with their company anyways. In some cases, yes, a consultancy firm will highlight that this is wrong with your company.
Yeah.
But the solutions are difficult, meaning if somebody is really struggling to grow the business, you need a partner who can say, you know what, I have a partner in Asia, or I have a partner in Africa, and let's just do this partnership where your top line and bottom line can grow significantly. So what we do there is we created a very low cost business model where we support them with with a very low cost subscription, and only when bag delivers for our partners, meaning the clients, then we take a bit of that upside. So if we grow their business, if there is revenue that is being generated, then we will mutually agree to take, let's say, 5-10% of the upside that we deliver from them.
Yes.
And throughout the way, throughout their journey, whether it's joint venture that we help create, whether it's new business that we are helping them expand into in terms of new market, we make sure that we are there as an anchoring partner. So it's not like, you come to us and, we write a report and thank you very much, we've earned our revenue. It is very, I would say, purposely built business to be that anchoring partner for entrepreneurs.
And the ideal size company, we need to obviously touch on that really. If anyone's listening today that you're looking for the bag, what would be the ideal size?
So that's an interesting question. So we, I personally thought we will go with companies that are at least doing a revenue of $1 million plus. But after, it's good to kind of go and look back into your own vision and say, you know what, I need to kind of change. So we are now getting a lot of companies come to us. They're kind of at our $500,000 range, $500,000 upwards. So we've decided to look into that. And a lot of them are kind of looking at support on the funding side.
Yes.
So we are saying, you know what, maybe that's the way to go. So we will be, and we are supporting them on the funding side. And a lot of them have very good businesses, but the promoters, meaning 1 or 2 directors, are finding it difficult to work together with themselves. And sometimes culture can play a very important role, especially in the Southeast Asian community. So we are seeing some of that. There is an embarrassment also to say, you know what, I have a problem in my company and things like that. Maybe there is a family pressure. Maybe there is just that taboo where, okay, I want to pretend that I'm successful, that type of approach as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. So we are going to have a live phone-in at our 3rd session after the commercial break to ask Sanjeev questions. So please, if you are an entrepreneur or business owner and you think this could be of interest to you, please do take the number when it comes up on the screen. But back to the bag, I believe that the subscription, as let's say I was a business and I came to you and I paid the subscription, I believe there's some grant funding available for me to recoup that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so, what we realize is that there is a lot of government help already out there. So, I mean, up to 85% of their subscription fee that they end up paying can be reimbursed through the grant anyways.
Amazing.
So they've designed that structure, which is quite literally helping our partners, our customers, kind of navigate this, minefield, because there is always a cycle. Look, you're going through a recessionary environment, turbulent in the market. Your cost of funds have gone up. You might have a credit line with the banks, overdraft limit, and the banks are saying, you know what, maybe we will reduce the overdraft limit. So sometimes you do not have that type of knowledge as a small business to negotiate with the bank. And this is where smaller companies end up doing a bit worse than bigger companies, because bigger companies have access to the McKinseys and all of that. And smaller companies just simply cannot afford it.
No,
so that's why we created this model where, they have access to one of the best group of people, because we all have worked at amazing companies before. And that's why we thought, we kind of mentor these companies also. That's why I call it grandfathering of the companies and anchoring it. And when they start delivering, when we make sure that they deliver, I think it's only fair that we take a bit of it. That's the model that we are following.
Yeah, because if you have a vested interest, we know that the model will help rise some of the premium, absolutely. And I guess if that happens and then they want to exit, then you've got a solution for that as well.
Yeah. So that's one of the reasons why. So we have we have people in our own partnership, the bag partnership, who we all invest in companies anyways. So if, let's say, a promoter wanted to invest, we could get them the best exit also. within the BAG network. Sometimes BAG can buy into that company. Sometimes BAG could just find the right fit for the company and make sure it's the right deal for the promoters.
Yeah, fantastic. And just sidestepping from the BAG, we've also now got the health and wellness part, which is kind of akin to lockdown and the problems in COVID and what now is going to happen to all of us mentally and physically, potentially, with all the stress and the challenges that we have to face. Tell us about the Harley Street Healthcare Group.
Yeah, so that was an interesting thing that happened. So I had investment in healthcare anyways, but sometimes people are lucky to know what they're passionate about. It took me a long time to know, am I passionate about something? Maybe it's a bad thing to say. Probably people are wondering.
I'd say you're passionate about life and you want to give everyone a nice life.
Yes.
If I was to sum you up.
Yeah, thank you. Sometimes you need to look in the mirror to know how you look. So it's good to know from you. So I can probably say that I think healthcare became more of a passion for me. And there is a sad story to it, because I ended up losing in less than 24 months. I ended up losing my dad first, my mother, then my elder sister. Wow. And I realized, okay, so why is this happening to me? And then I realized, okay, there is, obviously healthcare angle to it. How can I make sure that, I can do whatever I can to make sure people are able to live longer, healthier. So that's how I personally started investing more of my time and money and resources in healthcare. And what I also realized is sometimes you need an outsider's view. Even though my friends and family tell me, you're doing what your father was doing, because my father was in healthcare, right. And I used to hate healthcare. I used to tell my dad, never, I won't do healthcare. Because it's a lot of hard work.
Yes.
And you're underpaid most of the time.
Absolutely.
In healthcare.
Yes.
You're underpaid. I just don't understand. So you are a nurse. You are doing real benefit to the society. Whereas, no offense to anybody, but whereas, you're a money manager or you're a sports athlete and you're earning millions.
Yes.
So in a way, it's not fair also.
No.
So, I realized that, as an outsider, what else can I do? So I thought that, the problem here is healthcare is more of a sick care business.
Yes.
You get sick, you see healthcare.
Yes.
And it's a very industrial approach, designed more on the textile industry.
It's firefighting.
Yeah. Size, it's not personalized. It's not tailored towards individual.
Right.
So I thought, we need to transform healthcare, reinvent healthcare. And not just reinvent healthcare, but also the physical space within healthcare. Just imagine walking into a typical hospital. It's intimidating. Bright lights, everything looks the same. So that's why we went on a journey focused more on, prevention, precise medicine, more predictive kind of medicine. And then we thought, how do we keep people healthy? So we realized, there is state-of-the-art modern medicine that we have within our Harley Street Healthcare Group. And we have the tech, because you really need the best tech. And then we thought, there is a lot of ancient healing system around the world that's been around for thousands and thousands of years.
Yes.
So we kind of put all of it together as an integrated wellness. And then we thought, let's just become a partner in the healthcare journey of individuals.
Yes.
And let's just kind of be there for them and create a healthcare plan for people.
Amazing. And we'll hear more about this after the break, because we are, again, coming to our commercial break very soon, would you believe? Please do take the number. If our producers can put the number on the screen before we go to the commercial break, that'd be amazing, because we do want you guys to call up and speak to Sanjeev. So with regard to HSHG, we're doing something amazing in London, just to finish before we go to the commercial break. So tell us about this kind of private members club.
Yeah, so we've created a wellness club, which is a hybrid model where it's a medically led wellness there, and then for professionals and executive, it's a place where you can hang out, do your networking, do your business meeting. We even have resources like scream rooms, because a lot of people are, dealing with stress.
Yes.
So we've created a scream room where people can come, shout, do whatever they want.
Amazing.
And we have, diagnostic centers and everything in it. I mean, we'll be happy to explain more.
We'll do it after the commercial break. Absolutely. We are still having some time here, so don't worry. We're fine on time. So, in terms of the facility, are you able to talk about that? We'll talk about that later. Sorry, we are going to commercial break soon. I can see the number on our screen. We'll get you right back after the commercial break. Welcome back to NTV Unscripted, and just before the commercial break I was unplugged as well. So Sanjeev, thank you so much for joining us today. The things that you are doing now are probably more fulfilling, I would say, from the way your face lights up when you talk about them compared to the old days. But tell us, we're talking about the HSHG, which is the Harley Street Healthcare Group. So just talk us through the facilities and what people will expect. Is it a membership and all that kind of stuff?
So yeah, I mean, and so our focus, as I was saying, sometimes you discover your passion late. Our focus is more on engaging with people and meeting all their primary care needs. And I think the way we are designing ourselves is to make sure we become that cushion and the buffer around the National Healthcare Service.
Yes.
So you have a lot of mental well-being issue across the UK. You have a lot of burnout issue. Even among kids, there is a lot of burnout and a lot of stress. So what we are trying to do is create that infrastructure, the resource, and give people the access to, meaning they have the recourse to it.
Yes.
So for the time being, what we're doing is we have a very strategic asset in Portland Place, and it's mostly towards executives and professionals, and it's a membership, as you were saying. It's a membership model.
Yes.
So members can bring their meetings there. Members can come in, do their wine and dine in boardrooms. Because what happens is most of us are probably guilty as charged when it comes to our health. Yes. We want to do the meeting and then take care of our health. So I thought, let's not give people any excuse. So you want to access health, you come into our center, you do your meeting, and then you access your health also, and state-of-the-art health. So that's what we have created there. And things like scream rooms and all of that, there is a real reason for it, because sometimes you do want to scream. Sometimes the meditation and all of that people talk to you about really doesn't work.
Doesn't hit the spot.
And you have a lot of these wellness gurus on social media, and they're trying their best to help people, and some of them want to make good money also, and that's okay. But I think there has never been a healthcare company that has taken this seriously.
Right. Okay.
And that's why we are focusing on reinventing it. So this is the location, which is the Portland Place location.
Yes.
And from there we are also kind of expanding and creating more community wellness centers. So it won't just have the GP practices type thing, but more of an integrated health approach. And most of what we are trying to do is to focus on helping the NHS reduce the pressure on NHS. That's the target that we have.
That's amazing. I do believe that we have our phone lines open, so if anyone wants to call in and ask Sanjeev a question, please do. We'll carry on with our interview, but please do feel free to call in anytime. So in terms of your books, tell us about, how many books have you written?
Oh yeah, I've written 5, yeah.
Oh yeah, just 5.
Yeah.
So tell us the sort of each title and what each book is
So
about.
the first book that I wrote was a book called Poems of Self-Discovery.
Very good.
And it was mostly, I was posting on social media, and a lot of people, strangers basically would tell me, oh, you need to write it in a book. And I say, well, it's just something, I just do it. So what happens is, so you are flying somewhere and your flight is delayed.
Yes.
Or your flight gets cancelled. And it's very frustrating because you're tired, you want to come back home. So I realized, okay, how can I be productive if my flight is delayed for an hour, or if I'm doing a long trip from London to Singapore or Thailand, etc. I thought, you know what, you can sleep maybe, I struggle to sleep in the plane, so I could sleep maybe 4 or 5 hours if I'm lucky. But then if you're flying for 11 hours, 13 hours, what else do you do? So I started writing because, you know, I mean, I do like to put my thoughts in words. So that was the first book.
Yeah.
You know, it was a collection of 25 poems plus, I think. And then, you know, I just wrote it, and a lot of people have very positive reaction to it, and a lot of people could relate to it because it came from a personal journey.
Yes.
And I remember meeting a stranger, and this was a very crazy moment. So I was in Joe and the Juice near my area. And I was just having, you know, normal coffee and banana bread, and then I went and I thought I will get myself something else as well. And then there was this lady who came to me and she said, "Oh, can you sign this book for me?" I said, "Seriously, you want me to sign this book?" So she said, "Oh, this poem appealed to me, that appealed to me." It was like somebody was narrating my story.
Yeah.
So then I thought, you know what, maybe I am not bad at writing things. So then I wrote the other books like Journey of Human Mind and Prisoner. And you know, the third book was very important for me also. The Prisoner of a Mind, which was my fourth book, because I realized we become prisoner of our own mind.
Right.
Because, you know, the whole thing that we carry, our insecurities, our cultural bias, our prejudice. So I thought, you know what, maybe I should write about it, you know, through poetry. So the book has poetry, it has essay, it has stories. I thought, you know what, let's just combine everything together. The first book was just poetry. And then I realized, you know what, maybe I should write poetry with essay and with some fiction story. So I did that. And then that was the fourth book.
Yes.
And then a lot of people started talking to me and say, you know, you talk about your business ideas, this, that, the other. Why don't you write a business book? And I said, you know what, this is unbelievable. I write for fun. So I created we have time.
Yes, I'm looking at books.
Oh yeah, okay. So that's the magazine.
Oh, that's the magazine. Yeah.
Yeah. So the fifth book was something that I think. That's the fifth book. Yeah,
Right.
From the Diary of a Nobody. And I realized
you're quite harsh on yourself.
Yeah, you know what? I realized, you know, I was thinking I do want to be free, and how do I find myself to be free? Because, you know, there is so much of pressure on you.
Yeah.
And, you know, we put pressure on ourselves and we want to be somebody. We want to be this. And the moment you become a somebody, you realize, oh my God, the pressure is immense.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's like an unlayering of yourself, undoing of yourself. And then you realize being a nobody is liberating. You know, there is no pressure, no expectations.
Yeah.
So I wrote this book. And then there I thought, you know what, at least 4 of my friends kept writing to me and saying that, look, you should write about business. So I decided to write about my business and how I got my admission, the essay that I wrote. And during lockdown is when I published the 5th book.
Right.
And I ended up, giving the book away because I realized their care homes were really struggling.
Right.
And people couldn't access, anybody. So I started donating. I probably donated 50, 60 books to care homes.
Oh.
And you know, the funny thing is, last year, I started getting calls from care homes. I mean, I said, why care homes are calling me? And somebody would like to talk to you. I said, you know what, I'll talk to them. And then you have people in their 80s.
Oh, nice.
Calling you and saying, so you don't look that old, so how do you have that experience? I said, wow, living can make people old. You know, and that was more fulfilling than anything else, if you ask me, because you know, you have people who have lived, you know, for 88 decades, and they have a ton of living experience. And you know, they said, you know what, a lady told me, she's 82, I won't name her, and she said she'd read the book 3 times.
Oh,
I said, wow, okay.
Because it's your journey, it's your personal to you, not to her. And it's like, wow, who is this guy?
Yeah, and that was really rewarding. I mean, for
Yeah.
me personally, that was very rewarding. So I thought, you know what, this is like a paycheck to myself.
Yes. More fulfilling than
Yeah,
a
more
paycheck.
fulfilling than anything else I've done, to be honest.
And so you've had awards for your writing. You've got a blog as well, and you've also won awards, copious amounts of awards for being in business, haven't you? Do you remember any?
Yeah,
of those?
so my first award, when this is again, maybe will sound silly. So when a team called me and they said, you've been nominated for this award, this, that, the other, and I first asked them, look, is this a joke? Is this a prank? Are you guys, are you serious? And so,
It's the lady from the care home.
I said, why would you award me? And I was very cynical. I thought, well, this is a prank. I said, you know what? My emails. Send me an email.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get these funny calls,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So they sent me an email, and I said, you know what? This looks legitimate. I mean, so then I said, look, who recommended me for these type of awards? And then you realize that, what you were doing is probably relatable, meaning, because you're so focused on your own journey. And then I realized, this is something that the gentleman was saying, that, what you don't realize is that through your own journey, you're able to kind of become a reference to a lot of people.
Yes.
And because you don't take yourself too seriously, and because you said, I am embarrassed for you, because you think, why would you give me an award? What have I done? I haven't solved any crisis. So that was a good experience.
Yes.
I must say, it was also, if somebody's able to acknowledge that you've done something,
Yes.
and they feel that it's worth acknowledging what you've done, whether it's in the world of business, whether it's in the world of writing.
Yes.
You sometimes sit back and you think, okay, I'm not so bad, maybe.
Very good.
Yeah.
You're very modest, I have to say. It's a nice trait. So what's your thoughts on today's society with social media, Instagram, the TikTokers? What do you think that's doing to the young people, in your honest opinion?
Wow, I think so. Technology is neutral, right? I think social media is neutral. How we use social media, a knife is neutral. It's
Yes.
designed for something, but you have knife crime.
Yes.
I won't say gun is neutral, because it's not
No.
neutral. It's designed to kill people.
Yes.
I think what's happening is the society is kind of going in all kinds of direction. And I think if you happen to be a parent, or if you happen to be, if you're just a young person yourself, I think a lot of young person, this is my own experience, because I have some friends who are doing mentoring of young population.
Yes.
And this is something that I think, this is something that I think is very interesting, because I've launched something called the Wisdom Accelerator program, where you have a specific part of a population in their 80s and 90s, and we put them in care home because we don't need them. We think, well, they've done their work, and we don't really need them as a society. And then what happens is, but they have a ton of experience and wisdom.
Yes.
And then you have the teenage population. They're lost for direction.
Totally.
They go to school, and yes, they are studying, but sometimes they're not relating to the school. But school is not able to provide you any life skills.
No, not at the moment.
So what I thought is, won't it be nice to put an 80-year-old in front of a young teenage. Let's see what happens. Let's see what
Yes.
happens. And we've tested that a couple of times. And you know what? Initially, you are jittery and you're nervous. Oh my God, health and safety. What will happen? And all of these things, because we live in that type of society. And when you see after that, turbulence, you see that interaction within that group, where an elderly person start mentoring a 16-year-old or a 18-year-old or a 19-year-old, you see, we are not utilizing our senior citizens in the right way.
It's very, very, very true.
And we can blame social media all we want, but we are not really invested ourselves in taking care of our own society. It's simple as that. So we can say, oh, there is a manic depression in younger population. It's all social media. It's all Mark Zuckerberg to blame. It's all TikTok. But the issue is, the rules and regulations are also so difficult for parents, right? And the only outlet a lot of kids these days have is digital media.
Yeah, exactly.
And digital media is, the science tells you, is very addictive. So I think if we take kind of responsibility and we take ownership of it, there are two ways to take it. One is to say, it's not my problem really, and complain. Or the other thing is, you could say, I have an idea, let me try it.
And let's work around it. Because social media is very positive in lots of ways, obviously.
Yeah, social media is great for connection.
Yeah, exactly.
Great for connection. Social media allows you to connect to people. Social media allows you to speak with one voice. Look at issues like climate change.
Yes.
Look at what's happening in situations like Ukraine.
Yes.
Look at situations like Iran. People are coming together, supporting each other. But you also have a lot of so what social media has also done is allowed us to see that people love displaying their dirty laundry on social media.
I do. And would you believe it, we have 1 minute left to the end of this show.
Oh.
After all our chit chat, it's been so wonderful talking to you, but let's just leave on a high. What advice could you give any business owner, entrepreneur watching today, piece of advice moving forward with their business?
I think, I really don't want to give any advice, but from my personal experience, I would say is, have somebody who can anchor you. It's very, very important that you have somebody who can anchor you. Sometimes you go through, that phase where you lose faith in yourself. You name it, you go through it. Insecurity, you go through all kinds of problems. But if you have somebody who believes in you, and if you have somebody who you can go and talk to, that's a very, very good thing. In terms of advice, I think being an entrepreneur is not easy. It's not easy at all.
No, not at all.
And it's not for everybody as well.
No.
It's not for everybody. So you have to ask yourself, and you have to be pragmatic, especially if you are a parent. So you know what, maybe you can use being an entrepreneur as a side hustle. Because at the end of the day, you just if you go all in and you end up going nowhere, that's very, very risky. So it's important to discuss all of that with the family, your partner, and even your children, that look, this is what I'm doing. And there should be no taboo about failing. At the end of the day, you will fail.
Absolutely. Well, listen, thank you, Sanjeev. You've been an amazing guest, and I hope people reach out to you. Your website is?
It's thesanjeevkumar.com, and I'm also on LinkedIn and all of that, so people can connect with me.
Fabulous. So with 20 seconds left, as I've been told in my ear, it's been wonderful to see you all again, and please do join.